Al, many atheists would use the fact that if God is immaterial and our world is material, it's illogical that God could interact with the world and cause all sorts of problems to conservation of energy and matter, and it's impossible. Theists also wrestle with this question: what are the mechanisms that God can use? And they have all sorts of things from quantum mechanics, chaos theory. How do you view it?
Well, a lot of people have argued that God. A lot of theologians, in fact, have said that God can't act specially in the world. I mean, there's creation. God creates the world. Okay, sure. No problem. Conservation. God upholds the world and keeps it in being. If he were to withhold that conserving activity, the world would simply just disappear. But then it's part of Christian belief, as well as Jewish and Muslim belief, Hindu belief, that God does things beyond that in the world. I mean, he answers prayers, maybe, or there are miracles. The children of Israel walk through the Red Sea and the great walls of water on either side. They walk through on dry ground. In Christianity, Jesus is raised from the dead. He also raises Lazarus from the dead. Miracles, these would be special actions of God in the world. And lots of people have argued that whereas, okay, conservation, creation, okay with that. But the special divine action, that can't really happen. Why not? Well, because it conflicts with science. Science tells us about these laws of conservation of energy. I mean, if God were to, say, create a full-grown horse in the middle of the Notre Dame campus, this would violate all these conservation laws, the conservation of energy, conservation of momentum, conservation of angular momentum, etc. It'd all be violated. God would be violating the laws, going against the laws. But this is not, in fact, correct, I think. And I think these theologians are wrong here, because if you take a careful look at any physics textbook, well, the conservation laws are deduced from, say, Newton's laws. And the conservation laws, as well as Newton's laws, are stated for closed systems which are such that there isn't any energy input from the outside. They have to be closed systems. So what these laws really say is, in any closed system, so-and-so. But of course, if God were to create a horse right in the middle of the Notre Dame campus, then no system that includes that would be a closed system. And hence, because any such system would, of course, have this influx of energy from the outside, God creating this horse here just shows up. So so his doing so would not violate any law which says in every closed system so-and-so, the system in question isn't a closed system.
Well, the universe is a totality, is a closed system.
But that's not part of physics. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I would say that's a theological add-on, that the universe, the material universe, as a whole, is a closed system. If God acts in it, then it's not. And it's not part of physics to say that God doesn't act in it. That's not a physics truth or a physics claim. That's a theological claim.
So take your horse here in Notre Dame. Does that mean there are now another, 10 to the 20th molecules that exist, atoms that exist in the universe, because that compose the horse?
Yeah, right. That's what. Right. I mean, if God didn't, so to speak, subtract anything anywhere else, right. That's the way it would be. Now there would be a whole bunch more atoms.
He could have done it both ways. He could have just added these extra atoms, or he could have scooped up some other atoms from different places you wouldn't notice.
Right, and then made the horse out of those, if he wanted to, right.
Yeah, but that might have taken some extra energy to do that.
I think in either, no matter which of these two ways went on, the universe, you wouldn't think of the universe as a closed system. In the one case, there would be conservation of energy, and in the other case, there wouldn't be. There'd be this upsurge of new energy. But in both cases, the universe wouldn't be closed because there would be this outside activity. But the point here is that it's not that the laws, let's say Newtonian laws or quantum mechanical, we'll talk about quantum mechanical laws in a minute. It's not that these laws prohibit God's doing something like that, because, as I say, they are stated in such a way that they apply to closed systems. And if God did act in the world specially, the world then all the systems containing the area where he acted in this way would not be closed systems.
And it's that by definition.
Exactly.
Because
right.
when God does that, a closed system then becomes an unclosed system.
Yeah, what he does makes it the case that it's not a closed system.
Right, right.
So I think that worry is, I think it's just a mistake. I mean, and I think it sort of, it comes out of, well, on the part of many theologians, well, I don't want to criticize theologians. I mean, I think they're terrific. But many theologians worry about their being thought of as unscientific or unmodern or not quite up to date or soft on science or something like that. So sometimes they take further steps in that direction than they're really, than it's really necessary. I mean, in a certain way, you might say they try to be more Catholic than the Pope, which is, I think, overkill. Well, now, so that's the way it is with respect to, say, classical mechanics. Mm-hmm. But now when you turn to quantum mechanics, and of course it's a really big change from classical Newtonian way of looking at the world, there is even less reason to think that God's acting specially in the world would violate the laws, violate the physical laws, the laws of quantum mechanics. We're told that as far as quantum mechanics is concerned, large numbers of things are possible, compatible with the laws of quantum mechanics. There's these two statues out here in front of the library of former President Hesburgh and one of his friends. It's compatible with the laws of quantum mechanics that these statues get down off their pedestal and walk away. Very, very unlikely, but compatible. So quantum mechanics, you might say, assigns probabilities to various possibilities. But any one of these possibilities to which it assigns probabilities is something that's compatible with the laws of quantum mechanics. Rising from the dead, walking on water, the Red Sea parting, and so on. These things are not incompatible with quantum mechanics as we're told about it.
Is it appropriate or even possible to ask at what level of the physical world God would make these special interventions? I mean, we can go to quantum mechanics. We can even go more fundamental in quantum mechanics, whether it's string theory or whatever, and we can go up the line to systems and chaos theory and holistic approaches. Is this even a subject that can be worth exploring?
I think it certainly is worth exploring. And if you ask now, well, how does God do this exactly? Of course, one answer is God does it just by willing it. God wills that there be a horse there on the campus. Well, then there is. It just happens because God wills it. He causes what he does cause by virtue of just willing, deciding that things will be that way. But there's a way in which God might be acting specially in the world all the time that seems to me to be at least worth thinking about, worth exploring. And this too involves quantum mechanics, on which I should point out I am not at all an expert. I mean, quantum mechanics is extremely mysterious, and it's extremely mysterious to me. But as you know, there are various interpretations of quantum mechanics, right? There are the collapse interpretations. The original Copenhagen interpretation was a collapse interpretation, and there are other ones nowadays. And the basic idea here, one basic idea is that associated with any system of particles, a single particle or a bunch of particles, there is a wave function, which wave function tells you something about, for example, what this system will be like, what configuration it will occupy, say, 10 seconds from now. It doesn't tell you, though, exactly what it will be like. Rather, it assigns probabilities to various possibilities, to various configurations that could issue, say, in 10 seconds. Maybe this one gets a probability of, say, 0.1, this one a probability of 0.002, this one a larger probability. So these different probabilities, there's an assignment of probabilities to these possibilities. Well, according to these interpretations of quantum mechanics, every now and then, if you make a measurement, let's say if you actually say you measure to see where this electron is at a given point, then this wave function collapses to one specific possibility of all those possibilities to which it was assigning probabilities. And it's collapsing to that specific possibility doesn't have, on these theories, any physical cause. It's not caused by anything else. There's nothing physical that causes it. Maybe it's collapsing when it does also doesn't have a physical cause, but it's collapsing in the way it does is said not to have a physical cause. So here's one way in which God could be active all the time. He could be causing these collapses to occur the way in which they do in fact occur.
He'd be pretty busy.
You'd be very busy. But this is no problem if you're omnipotent and you've got a lot of time and everything, and a lot of know-how, a lot of ability. So if God were doing that, then he could be sort of, he would be engaged in special divine activity all the time, and would thereby also be causing things to happen in the way in which they do. At least if you think that the way in which things happen at the quantum level determines the way in which things happen at the macroscopic level. He might also, it might also be that he's created other beings, us for example. If dualism is true and we, like God, are immaterial substances or souls or selves, maybe the way in which we can act is also by causing collapses or causing collapses to occur the right way. Maybe we can do this only in a very limited area, maybe with respect to our own brains or parts of our own brains, something like that. But we can cause things to happen in our brains. We as immaterial substances can cause things to happen in our brains in this way, and thereby we can cause our body to behave in a certain way. I can raise my arm, I can get up, walk across the room, and so on.